Okay, 5 choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the cover, I actually flipped them so you could see the word. And I realize you can see the other words here. So I'm going to actually take both words into consideration, but I want them to slide here. So on the cover, the thumbnail for the video, you would have seen these top words. Okay, I'm going to put these aside, which will just take me a moment. I've clicked on this video so you know what the topic is. And I'm right now, as I do this, trying to hear what the topic is. To be inspired to a topic. So I like that the first one's weight, because I'm definitely dealing with weight on myself, but I won't claim the pile yet. We'll see what the messages are and see if I can find useful information to reflect on. But before we get started, let me just take a moment to see what we're doing. We're just taking a look at a reflection on a current situation. Okay, reflection on our current situation. Okay, so yeah, we're going to start with pick one. If you chose weight. Lots of times when I do this stuff, I start like being the example. So if I was the example, I would say, like, I've gained and lost weight many times over the years, and in general, it's in my ancestry. My family has suffered a lot of weight, carrying a lot of weight, extra weight. And both sides of the family, mostly mom's side of the family. And I've seen it from different angles now. And I've always understood that each time I experienced a weight gain, it was for a different reason. Like I was seeing it from a different angle, and I've understood now that I'm healing weight issues from different angles that it can be affecting people from. Like it can be that we gain weight as a measure of protection between ourselves and others. It can be that we're consuming processed foods and the toxins are not able to be processed through our organs in a timely manner, so that our body forms fat cells to store the toxins, so that the organs are not too taxed to function properly. And it can also be that I feel like those are the major angles, that it's it's really to protect us. Like if you looked at a big picture, both of those cases say, I need protection. And, all people don't gain weight as a form of protection, but some people do, right? And it's a protection from different things at different times. And it is, also, the weight could also be the weight of something on you, right? And so I feel like even when you have the weight of something on you, you could be a very thin person and have chosen this pile and not be carrying excess weight, but you may have the weight of an issue on you, right? And so you can go through this reading with that in mind, with that perspective and that understanding of how this weight word might be wanting to reflect something back to you. Okay, so I'll cover the reading in both ways as I see or feel it coming through me. Yeah, so I've done different things to lose weight over my years, and I've done different things to shed the burden of heavy things over the years. And all of the things are useful, you know? One moment. So say I had a client who was coming to me for help with a weight issue, and I had only healed it to the degree, like say it was before I gained some of this weight back, or I'll say weight again. Say it was during a time, they came to me during a time where I had already shed a bunch of weight. I possibly couldn't help them with the angle that they were suffering if I had not also understood and had something to offer from that. And I do believe that I did want to investigate and learn this issue from many different angles and really just like absolve it. And I am an alchemizer, so all the feelings, like the shame and the shunning and the need for protection and the fear and the poor self-talk and the poor self-image and the not loving self and the conditional love and the beating self up and the just unkind things that can happen when your body starts doing this thing to protect you. And in the same way, say you're carrying the weight of something heavy, you start coping and adapting the way that you live. Like maybe I'm only wearing certain clothes because I don't want it to be unflattering on me or whatever. I want to try to cover up something about myself. Well, if I'm carrying something heavy and I'm not in a body that's trying to cover something up, maybe I'm acting in a way that covers something up, that makes it so that no one knows that I'm carrying that heavy thing. You see what I mean? So it starts affecting our behavior. And I've definitely experienced all different versions of that, and been healing versions of that, you know? Healing, and even healing like the feeling that I get when someone does see it. Like say I run into somebody who hasn't seen me in a while and they know that I've gained weight, and I read people's energy and I can literally hear their thoughts. And they're like maybe mortified, maybe feel bad for me, maybe disgusted, maybe like just taken aback, or maybe even just the noticing of it. And say the noticing of it activates a pain in me. Well, that isn't their fault. They've done me a favor. Like this is reminiscent of maybe like my mother passing on her wounding around weight issues and commenting on my weight, you know, and telling me how to dress to cover it up and things like that. Like that's implanting shame and conditions on love and acceptance for self. So all these have to be understood in order to be, you know, loosened, and solved and set free. So that's what how I'm looking at it. And if you're carrying the weight of something heavy on you, then it's the same type thing. It's like when somebody does see it, it pokes in you the reason why you're trying to hide it, the reason why you don't want people to see, the reason why you're coping in the way you're coping about it and with it. And maybe it's that you're using it as an excuse to drink, you know, it's like, it could be anything. So just apply this as it pertains to you. And for whatever reason, I feel compelled to start with a song. So we're going to start with a song from the song deck. Now the other word that came up is needs. And needs is really just something we want. And I've kind of just come to that understanding recently through a spiritual teacher. He said something. His name is Jason Estes. And he has a Facebook page. And anyone is free to follow his page. And what he commented on, and I don't always agree with everything he says, you know, he's a great space for me to get reflections from and understandings from, because he is focused in different areas than I'm focused in and doing things from different angles. And he shares about it, you know. Not everyone is willing to share about their process the way I am, and I love when people are, because, and even when I do it, I don't expect people to fully agree with me all the time. It's just that I want to be able to freely express, and so I really appreciate that he does that. And so what he shared about needs is he pointed out that everything you need is, you already have everything you need. Because if you needed something that you didn't have, you wouldn't be here. And that's so true. So he pointed out that it's actually things we want, right? It's affection that we want. And we could, like, there's an argument that a baby needs affection, but let's face it, a lot of us got through the infant phase without the amount of affection we would have wanted, and we survived. So we didn't actually need it, did we? You know, we wanted it. Okay, so that's the distinction there. And when we look at weight, we may like feel like we need relief, or we need something with regards to what we're carrying, but do we really? You know? So if it's like, and if we want something, why do we want it? Why do we want that? Why do we want to dress this way? Why do we want to avoid that person? Why do we want to drink? Why do we want to eat that? Oh, wow. So the song that came out was Kiss with a Fist by Florence and the Machine. And it says, like, a kiss with a fist is better than none. You hit me once, I hit you back. You gave a kick, I gave a smack. Those might not be the exact lyrics, but she's basically saying, like, this, like, kind of fighting in a way. And it says, a kiss with a fist is better than none. Okay. We will just keep that in mind. You might want to look at the lyrics, and it might be like that it's talking about, oh, there's a hidden benefit. There is a hidden benefit. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so to whatever weight we're carrying, the weight of whatever we're carrying, we may want to be relieved from it, right? But there is a hidden benefit to us carrying it. There's a hidden benefit to me carrying weight. Now, there's probably been many over the years. Hold on one sec. I'm just getting little, like, throat tickles, so I'm pausing you while I cough. So there have been many hidden benefits over the years to my weight issues, but one that I uncovered recently was that I was dealing with the energy of Aphrodite, and I do astrology, so I was finding Aphrodite was activated in my chart, and I was dealing with certain issues around lust, and men coming towards me in a lustful manner. And, I mean, it was very amplified at the time that I was noticing it. I had dealt with it earlier times in my life. Certainly lots of men have come towards me in a lustful manner, and like I can feel it in myself even right now when I'm talking about it, and I'm feeling dizzy, like, oh, this energy is really, like, shifting for me as I discuss it and put focus on it, be present with it. But I hated it. I hated men coming towards me with lust. Now, first of all, that was anchored in my own judgment about lust from an early age, where my mother pointed out some dirty posters that were on my grandfather's wall that I shouldn't look at because that's dirty. And so these posters were of women with their legs spread, like and I was like 5 years old or whatever, and we were visiting him, and this is what he had on the walls, like in his bedroom, and we had to pass through his bedroom to go to the bathroom. And so my mom's taking me into the bathroom and telling me those are dirty, don't look at them, and probably cleaning everything that I had to touch in the bathroom and making sure I didn't get contaminated. Because that's how my mom was, and I love her for that, because to this day I will not let myself get contaminated. But also, I had picked up this disgust around lust. When lust is actually, you can actually enjoy lust in moments, and it can be pleasurable and not get you in trouble. If you run your whole life on lust, I mean, I can definitely see where that would lead you into dark places and trouble. But certainly it's a human experience that is pleasurable at times and moments, and I think in context with the right situation and person that it can be enjoyable and safe, right? But I had just a whole, like, shame around lust. So if someone was looking at me in lust, I felt that shame that my mother had showed me was appropriate for that situation, right? And so it tied in with the mythology of Aphrodite, where she was punished by Zeus. She was cursed by Zeus to have any man who looked at her in love or lust would become obsessed with her. And so when it was time for me to heal this energy, I started having like 7 men a day messaging me on Facebook, like, you know, and I wasn't like on any dating sites, or I wasn't like, and I was like really looking at what am I putting out that makes men like just treat me like I'm an object. I didn't feel safe. It felt unsafe to be looked at that way, and wrong and bad, and I got angry, and even I was just like disgusted and didn't want that kind of attention. Well, I did shift my energy, and it kind of slowed down, but what I realize now is then I put on the weight. Then I gained a bunch of weight, and I realized, oh, I believe that the hidden benefit of me carrying weight is that men will not look at me in lust. And so it's kind of interesting how my protection mechanism was, it's also a self-sabotage in a way, because it's uncomfortable to carry extra weight. It makes my life harder because I don't have the clothes anymore to support this weight size. Like I barely have anything that fits anymore, and I've been sewing myself new clothes so that I can dress in more than a couple outfits at a time. And so but without dealing with that hidden benefit, my body won't budge on that weight, because the hidden benefit is that I will not be looked at in lust. And if I don't get good with being looked at in lust, then I'm going to keep the weight. You see? So if you don't get good with the surrender and authenticity of having the problem, the weight of the problem that you're carrying, whatever it is, even if it's not physical weight on your body, if it's somebody who's thin who's watching this and who's not carrying extra weight, or if the issue is not enough weight, you know, just apply it to that. But like there is a hidden benefit to what the issue is, and somehow that issue, that hidden benefit, is pointing to something that needs our presence. And so being seen as perfect, being seen as capable, being seen as having all our needs met. You know, sometimes if somebody knows that we are needy, or that we have a need that's not met, then that makes us vulnerable to them, where they can try to like love bomb us, or try to make us want what they have, you know, things like that. Like, we've learned to cope in all different ways as human beings, and it's just that whatever issue we're carrying, there is a hidden benefit to carrying it. And once we address that hidden benefit, so in my case, in my example, the hidden benefit is that I don't have to worry about men coming at me in lust, because I'm not in the condition that would elicit lust. So what I have to do is get okay with and accept the parts of me that feel scared and unsafe being looked at in a lustful manner, join them in, collect them in, and ask them to join the rest of me. Now, the rest of me can handle herself. The rest of me is not going to let herself get raped, or is going to be able to discern if somebody is right for her, and can actually decide if she feels attracted to somebody else. Like, the rest of me can help this part of me understand what's right for me and what isn't, right? So it's really beneficial to welcome and love this hurt, scared part of me into the rest and wholeness of me, so that we can operate as a team again, as a community of cells that know what's best for Julie and how to navigate life according to what my needs or wants are. And I want I'm sure there's actually part of me that does want to be looked at in lust at times by the right people, right? So actually I would probably want to deal with that part of me too, because I don't want to be attracting that if that is going to put me at risk. You know, why can't we just look at people as wholeness and recognize our own lust comes from a darker, denser place? And so I know that someone looking at me in lust gives me a power in a way. Like it gives me, I could be like a succubus to their energy and their attention. So it is a darker kind of energy. And if I'm going to look at the part of me that wants to avoid lust, then I also should look at the part of me that likes lust, if there is one. And when we fragment through traumas and through stories that we're telling ourselves and being told by our parents, this can absolutely happen where there's a dual nature. Like there's a part of me that wants to have the heavy weight on me so that I'm not looked at in lust. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to have the heavy weight on me because I want to be able to wear my clothes. You know? So then there's this other part of me that does like the attention of being looked at in lust because it is attention. It's attention, and if you're a vampire, which I'm a former vampire because I'm a former codependent, then that you know that attention is an energy, it's a currency, and you can feed off it. Excuse me, you can feed off of it. And if there's a part of me that wants to feed off of that, I'm just going to cough. Wow, burping and coughing, this is deep stuff that we're releasing here. But if there's a part of me that wants to feed off of that, then that part needs to be dealt with. Like, that part needs to be welcomed in, loved, and accepted by me. Because if she joins the wholeness of me, then she knows, look, we have our own back. We don't need somebody else's attention to siphon off of because, like, look, this is life. This is our life. We get to do what we want. We can do all the things that are fun. We can do all the adventures. We can and be inspired by others. We can enjoy experiences with others, and we don't need to extract and have their attention. Like, we can share experiences with each other where it's equal and interdependent, where we are just enjoying each other. We're not like feeding and needing each other, right? Okay. Wow. Kiss with a fist is better than none. A kiss with a fist is better than none is kind of like this idea that I'm talking about, which is that there's a hidden benefit. It's like, well, sure, I'm getting the abuse, but at least I'm getting a kiss too. You know, like there's a little hidden benefit to getting the abuse with the kiss, which means maybe you don't have to stay invested. Maybe you don't have to be too intimate. Maybe you can get to love and run because maybe you have an intimacy wound that you're not able to deal with yet on that level where, you know, you look at yourself. So it could be a lot of things. Now let's see. This is the card that was under the word. So if I channel from this card, yeah, so as we understand these parts of ourselves and kind of get brushed by them along the way of our journey, at each stage of our journey, each evolution, like, you know, at a time when I had lost weight, like then the weight issue came back and brushed me again. And it's like, well, now I'm seeing it from a different angle. And so I feel like that's something to look at. It's like the weight of this thing may have been dealt with, you know, by you on different levels before. And now it's being presented again so that you can level up and see it from a different angle until you come to the time where you're going to take this leap of faith, at which time there'll be a big pressure from a lot of stuff that will sort of test you, sort of like say, like, are you sure you have the full understanding of all this stuff? And then you decide. And if you don't, like, maybe you'll just like go back down the spiral and kind of look at things again and see if you forgot to understand anything or integrate anything. And then you go back up, and it's like you are always being presented with another opportunity to see things from a different angle, and at one point they're going to just stop catching on you, and then you're going to be like, okay, I'm free now. And then once you decide you're free, then it's going to go, are you sure? And you can be sure. You can, like, escape even that, you know, and just be done with those cycles of this. But until then, it's cycling. And you're just dealing with the parts that you meant to deal with. Like, you know, other people are dealing with their parts, you're dealing with your parts. Okay. Oh wow, we're at 25 minutes. I've really talked to us here. We've got 5 piles, so... Okay. What came out so far is Atlantis and Cycle. So... Neptune. You're gaining clarity with each cycle. You're gaining a new perspective. You're gaining more, a bigger picture view, a bigger spiritual view. You're learning to love all parts of you unconditionally. And these are parts that may have fragmented because of ties to Atlantis, because of experiences in Atlantis. And they're parts of you that you need to commit to. Hold on one sec. Yeah, committing to and marrying in these parts of you that are revealed as your hidden benefits or as the wounds that caused them. And this is especially relevant for you within the next 5 days, where you will be able to reach very deeply into yourself and gain a lot of perspective and knowledge. Yeah. So you're going to be revisiting things that you've already looked at from a different angle. It's important for you to do so. It's not wrong. It doesn't mean you haven't healed from before. It just means that you're on a different level to look at it from a different angle and see what else. What else about this can you learn? What else could this be? What is the hidden thing here that I didn't realize yet? What is the hidden benefit that I have from this? What do I want out of this situation? What is this making me think I want or need? What is this making me think I need? Yeah. Okay. Alright, dare I say I'm going to close that reading there. Alright. Actually, I'm going to get some advice. I don't know, I just feel like a couple advice cards. Seeing, I feel like they're just going to repeat what we just said, you know? So, they'll just do it. Owl, omens, pay attention to signs. So, you know, you pass by and something catches your attention and it's like, okay, and then something else reminds you of the same thing, and by the time you get it like 3 times, it's like, okay, yeah, really look at that. Is that something you need to look at? Coyote, wise fool, accept your follies and find the teaching in them. So it's important not to shame ourselves when we find out a reason why we're doing something. Like, you know, when I realize, oh, I've gained weight so that I don't get looked at in lust, but here I am, I can't wear any of my clothes and I feel kind of worn out all the time because I'm carrying extra weight. It's like, oh, I kind of sabotaged myself. I don't beat myself up. I just go, oh, okay. You know, that's just like a silly thing. I accept that part of myself. I accept that, and I accept that there's something to be gained from that, because where I hurt, I can gain wisdom from understanding. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to go with that. So thank you for participating in this reading. Pick one. Maybe I'll see you in another pile, I have a feeling. And maybe not all of you, maybe just some of you. So that's fine too if you're drawn to more than one pile. For now, we'll end your reading and see you on the next one. Okay, if you chose spiritual, this is your pile. And the other word is smile. Spiritual and smile. And I'm starting out with a song from the song deck. So spiritual and smile. Part of what comes to mind before I even look at the song is spiritual bypassing. Sometimes, like, when we get onto this spiritual path, we start thinking, well, like, just think positively and everything will be fine. Just smile through it, like it's all happening for me. And if we do that by glossing over things that are trying to get our attention to go dig deeper into, then we're actually like not paying attention to everything that's presented to us on our spiritual path. Excuse me. We're not gonna take it, Twisted Sister. We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. We got no. There ain't no way we'll lose it. We don't need nothing, not a thing from you. Grin and bear it. Ignore it. Just like. This is like celebrating the win without doing the work to get to the win, is the feeling I'm getting it, even though that's not exactly what that song is. That song is like about taking a stand and saying like, no, this isn't right. And I feel like if you do that step, that's a wonderful first step, but then in order to get to the win, you have to like look at all the things within yourself that allowed you to participate in what you're not going to take anymore. Like that was an experience that you had, and you can't just go, not for me. No, it's actually showing you something. It's actually showing you something, and you can't just decide that since we won and since it's all going to work out anyway, I don't have to deal with that no more. No. Your lesson plan is being shown to you. And the more you run from your lesson plan, the more it will be shown to you. Okay. This also has a message about celebrating how far you've come. So it's great to get to this point where you realize you don't have to take it, that there is changes that can be made, that we do have choices. And now the work comes in is in like understanding what caused the issues in the first place and then creating the solution. And where you're going to look for what caused the issue in the first place is where it feels stressful to you. So apply this to whatever it is coming to mind. Yeah, we've got optimist, Concordia, which is like getting along, being nice, being committed, being in your power. We got 8 weeks time. Eris, which is chaos and discord. Leo, which is expressing self and being resilient. We got 180 days. That's 6 months time. Growth mindset. Zeus, which is more about being in power, and Virgo, the details, and master. Okay. Oh. I actually have to ask for like the perspective that they're trying to pursue here, because before I go along those lines now, because like everything here kind of just says like you are a spiritualist working on mastering something. You're using the growth mindset and knowing that you can overcome anything. And you're using the spaces of chaos to do so, and you're not afraid to look at the details. So it feels like there's no situation to be solved here. Well, something still hasn't come in for you yet. Okay, so you seem to be doing all the right things and no fruition yet. Okay. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? That you have done all the right things, that you've stayed optimistic, that you've done a growth mindset, that you've looked at the details of things, that you're working on mastering something, but you still don't have, like, the fruit. How do you feel about that? There's something left to be healed, and the clue is in how you feel about that. We got the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is running away. He's running away. Yeah, this is spiritual bypassing. Okay. Okay. It's okay. You know, it's just that you've looked at an angle of something from the angle of avoiding it. And there's something else to be learned by going into it. So how do you feel when I say that you're doing it wrong? Like there's a place in you that maybe gets triggered, right? And remember, this is just something to reflect on, and even if you're triggered, we're going to walk you through it, so bear with. It's going to be okay. If there wasn't a place that in you that needed your attention right now, then it wouldn't hurt when I said that. Even if you were, if you weren't doing it wrong, if there wasn't a part of you that felt you were doing it wrong, then I could say that, and you would just be like, no, I'm not. You know? If there's a part of you that takes offense to that part of you, okay, let's look at her. Let's look at him. Can you find another time when you were made to feel that you were doing it wrong? And what were the consequences of that? Was it a parent shaming you? Was it your peers making fun of you? Was it the failure of a project that you really wanted to complete? Some other time in your life, this feeling of being told that you're doing it wrong stuck with you in your energy. And now you had to experience this in this way so that you could remember that and go accept and love that part of yourself. That part of yourself needs to be acknowledged. That part of you that was told that she can't get it right, that what she's doing isn't right. What you have been doing is right. You've been learning something. You've been learning what it is to bypass, to rise above something without dealing with it. You can go around it, but it's now a chance to go back and look at it because it's your thing. You have gold in there to be extracted if you want to go look at it. And your path is just kind of going to be in that chaotic space to allow you to all kinds of opportunities to go back and get the part of you that's waiting for the healing, that wants to be brought into the new understanding, that really wants to have your love and wants to feel what it feels like to not have you run away from it, to be welcomed in and loved. Maybe it's the part of you that takes charge, right? Maybe it's the part of you that takes charge that has been shamed, and because this Zeus energy is found there, and maybe it was frowned upon by others or peers or authorities or parents when you took charge, when you decided that you were an authority on something, and when you decided that was all working out and they didn't have to worry about it, and everything was fine. where the part of you that was treated in certain ways needs your love and attention because it's been waiting for it. And you've been using your logic to avoid it. Because you know, and it is true, that everything is going to be okay, but now let's let that part of you come with you too for everything that's okay. That part of you has great ideas. That part of you knows what it's like and knows what it feels like when people are judging, shaming, and blaming, and knows why it's not right, because all your ideas get pushed aside if you don't accept that part of you. All your inspiration, all your downloads that were useful for you got left behind with that part of you, because that's the part of you that knows what it wants to do here. Okay? So it's not wrong that this happened. It's just an experience for you to have, and the experience is just that it played out that you did to this part of you just what everyone else had done to this part of you, which is ignored, suppressed, and denied, and said, yeah, everything's fine, we don't have to pay attention to that. Now you go back, you pay attention to that, and now you get to be with and integrate, accept, and love that part of you that first of all was hurt, first of all was shunned, first of all was left behind and glossed over, but then also has great ideas, inspiring ideas that will be helpful and let you shine and help you to master a certain perspective, and will also allow your heart to open back up. Yeah. Yeah. It's like your heart got hurt and it kind of got closed down, and but you knew that everything was going to be okay. Your logic, your ego was on board with that understanding, which is true. But also, let's go back and get that little part of your self that was hurt, that people or you weren't paying attention to it, that didn't think it was valid and worthwhile and worth taking with. And you're going to need to nurture and love that part of yourself and give yourself a lot of love, a lot of love, a lot of attention, a lot of understanding, a lot of presence, a lot of like, let's look at your ideas, let's see what you need, let's see what you want, let's smile at you. Innocence, free yourself of guilt and shame. Yeah, maybe guilt and shame tactics were used against you when you tried to assert yourself in these ways, and now you have been carrying them and just trying to avoid feeling them, so you've just bypassed that part of you, you know? And now you're going to free yourself by regaining that innocent part of you, that beautiful innocent part of you that is willing to take the lead when she has an inspired idea. You have such strength, Badger, perseverance. Dig in and see it through to completion. So now it's been brought to your attention, and maybe not just by this reading, but several signs along the way, and this is just one of them. And now you will go and tend to that part of you that is awaiting your presence and love. Yeah, very beautiful. Okay, pick 2. That is your message today. Make sure you only take it as something to reflect on and only take what's useful for you. If it's not helpful to you, then it's not meant for you. Okay? And we'll see you in a future reading. Okay. Pick 3. You chose interdependent. The other word is heartbreak. Here's the card. Interdependent and heartbreak. Alright. Let's see what I'm getting from this. I'm going to start with a song. I'm Gonna Be. It's the 500 Miles song by the Proclaimers. And I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more, just to be the man who something and falls at your door. Da 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 da. Dun, 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 dun. So this is about somebody willing to go a lot of miles. I was going to say the extra mile, but a lot of miles for someone else. And the word is interdependent. So, when we look at interdependent, let's look at it in correlation to codependent and counterdependent. So we have codependent, which is when we're enmeshed and vampiring off somebody else, needing from them to validate our existence. And counterdependent is when we avoid needing anybody and we won't let anybody in to collaborate with us or be in our lives and share life with us. One person can be both of those things in different aspects. And then we have interdependent, which is where people are collaborating and growing alongside. And if this person is good at, I don't know, like making money, and this person is good at making dinner, like maybe they cohabitate and that's how they work it out, right? Like something like that, where you're both willing to let the other do something that is helpful, but you're also capable of doing that yourself if needed, but you're willing to be interdependent because it is healthy. It's a healthy exchange. It's a healthy way to care for each other. Yes. So you're not doing it out of need, you're doing it out of care. That's what interdependence is. And we have heartbreak here. So when we have our heart broken, that's when we get into contradependence or codependence. So because we're doing those as a coping mechanism, as a way to cope with heartbreak. We're either saying like, I'm so broken, I need somebody to fix it, or I'm so broken, I will never let anyone do that again. Okay? And the song is, I'm Gonna Be. I'm gonna be the man who's coming home to you. I feel like the song is not necessarily talking about codependence, because it's like this person is willing to take the steps. They're not saying come pick me up, and they're not saying I'll never come to you, So they're willing to take the steps. And let's look at what the tarot says about this situation. Eight of Cups in reverse. It could be a situation that you previously walked away from, or you could have previously walked away from love altogether. Like you could have just been like, alright, well, love's not for me. I'm not going to depend on anyone else. Queen of Wands in reverse. Yeah. The Hanged Man in reverse. King of Wands, upright. So I do think this is about a relationship where there's been a separation or a breakup. Those are counterparts that came up, yeah. It's like the memory, the thoughts of what could have been there in the back of the mind, but there's not been like a pause to be like, to look at what you gave up or what's been missing. Like perhaps when this separation happened, it was just like going on with life and not even looking at what's been lost or what could have been, or only looking at what was lost and could have been without doing anything about it, without taking the steps. Just being in the heartbreak part, okay? Until eventually the pattern was revealed. Okay, let me look at this here. Got Palace, Aquarius, incompatible, deception, opposition, spooky, victimized, and Elpis. Something was cut off here. And instead of looking at the incompatibility of the situation, there was a victimized stance taken. Like, poor me kind of stuff. And this is a pattern. Like, maybe that there have been a series of relationships where it's been either codependence or counterdependence, and always a way to deal with heartbreak, and never just like the standing in the truth. And the lie could be that there was no compatibility. That could have been the lie. And instead, you stayed in victimhood, like, and the feeling of like a victim to your heart being broken. So there's a hidden benefit to feeling heartbroken. Perhaps it's that you get to retrieve a part of yourself that had been heartbroken before. Perhaps it's that you don't have to take action or look at your part in the thing. You definitely have been avoiding looking at something. Definitely know the loss of what could have been. Definitely walked away from love. King of Cups in reverse. Closed your heart right off. This isn't wrong, by the way. There's nothing here that's shaming you. So if you feel shamed or guilt or bad, look at that. Love that part of yourself. Accept that there's parts of you that feel that. Okay, those are parts of you that need your love and acceptance and presence and are welcome to be with you. Those are the important parts that are like the fruit of this situation. There is fruit in this situation, right? This affected your reputation. You were not able to shine in your light because of this. Because all these guilt and maybe feelings of regret and heartbreak are keeping you from like being who you really are in a way, and shining your light in the way that you really are meant to. I want to ask about, show me about incompatible. Did you have the idea that you were incompatible because you didn't have enough money, or that you didn't know enough? Okay, so the part of you that's hurt, that feels guilt and shamed, it's a child part of you. And that part of you was probably shamed through saying that you didn't know enough, you weren't as good or smart as somebody else, or you didn't have enough money or resources. You weren't like as high up as them in some way. You weren't as stable. You were lesser in some way. You were made to feel like you were lesser. I think the lie, the deception is clarified here by the King of Swords in reverse and the Ten of Wands. It's like you told yourself you told yourself a story about something. You didn't tell the truth. And you set off on your journey without looking back at the situation. Yeah, your back is turned in so many ways. Eyes closed, back turned, going forward with your passion only. Not with love, with your passion only. Maybe trying to prove that you're worthy. Maybe trying to... getting a lot of signs, I think, about it. Like, so much that it probably felt spooky. Like, am I being haunted? Like, what is this, you know? So there's something inside that is trying to make you look at the situation some more. Why are they being asked to look at this situation more? Because you're not being who you really are. Who are you showing yourself to be? See, your reputation matters in this. So who are you showing yourself to be? And who is that? Is that really who you are? Jaded, Lilith, life of the party. You perhaps have been partying to avoid dealing with this. And maybe even like putting it as a projection onto the darker woman aspects. Like jaded by darker woman aspects. Jaded by your want for independence, jaded by or independent because you are jaded. Jaded because you were abandoned. You're being asked to look at it so that you can alchemize the situation. There's something to be changed here. It's supposed to be brought up to a higher level. And the way to do that now is to go back and look at all the places where you avoided. Why did you close your heart? Why did you not look back? Why did you think that it was true, or that it had any that there was any truth to feeling that you were lesser or not good enough? Why did you tell yourself, what was the story you told yourself about why you went and where you were going? Can you see the patterns? Can you trace them back to where they originated from, the heartbreak? And this is, you know, in some cases, very slight tension. That's the only thing that can bring it to your attention now, because you are so used to, so good at, so adept at coping with this. Like, you know how to avoid feeling this and not getting your heart involved. But is that really who you are? Because it feels like that's not who you really are. You're the Ten of Pentacles. You're the happy family having it all. Like, including love. Yeah, we got Osiris, collecting your fragmented parts. Hecate, healing on many different levels, and going into the dark to do so, meaning the places where you haven't been able to look, the places you've been avoiding, the stories you've been telling to allow yourself to not feel those certain things. Anubis, going down into your own subconscious and really ask these questions, and let the things that have happened and the things you've been avoiding and the things you've been acting out, question why you've been doing these things, right? And this is going to get you to the place where you can come back to interdependence instead of counterdependence. Perseverance. Dig in and see it through to completion. So we get that card a lot of times when there's some shadow work to do. If you need help with this, by the way, I do have sessions available on my calendar through my website. If that seems like something that calls to you. Beaver, productiveness. Go ahead and just do it. You know, you've had the niggling feeling. You know that you're supposed to bring this to a higher level. You know all the reasons why you haven't been doing it. They're just saying, like, now dig in. Love those parts of you. Just do it. So that you can take the actions that your heart is in on. Monkey, ingenuity. The situation calls for adaptability and innovation. Yeah. So the way that you've been doing it is only going to get you more of the same. You have to adapt now with the knowledge that you have now and innovate. Come up with new ways to deal with this. And where you feel victimized, that's a key to this. Okay, because your heartbreak made you feel victimized. Love that victim part of you. You're allowed to feel victimized by situations that made you feel victimized. Those parts of you are welcome to be with you and need your love too. Those parts of you may have adopted coping mechanisms that have been gotten you by till now, that are now ready to be looked at and retired and learned from and wisdom gained from. That's all. I mean, this situation was part of your journey. This is not a situation to be shunned or ashamed of. This is a situation to really dig in and free yourself from, and then go forward with the wisdom that you've gained from having had this experience and knowing you can heal from this experience. If you can heal from this heartbreak and this avoidance of connection to let your heart live again, where's that going to lead you? What kind of... Then it's not like what could have been, it's what will be. Cool. Well, pile 3. That's your reading. I'm going to end it there and thank you for your time. Perhaps we'll see you in a future reading. And I'm going to move on to pick number 4. Pick number 4. It's hard to read, but it says sweet. And the other word is minor. Huh. And here's the watercolor card. This is interesting. Sweet and minor. I'm going to get a song from the song deck. As I'm looking at this card, I'm thinking of that child game, Candyland. Boy, that sun is calling my name. I've got 2 readings left and then I will be in it. Well, you got 3 songs. Wow. She's Got a Way by Billy Joel. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but Ho Hey by the Lumineers. I belong to you, you belong to me, you're my sweetheart. And Fortunate Son by Credence Clearwater and Revival. Okay. I feel like this is someone who is like, the childhood tried to be robbed of you, but you wouldn't let it. Stayed in childhood, maintained your innocence, refused to grow up in a way. Okay. I mean, imagine with the whole world, your parents, the authorities, peers even, expectations, looking at you to grow up, and then you don't, and you just say, no, I'm going to maintain my youthful innocence. That's beautiful. Limitless possibilities, yeah. Living in this place of, like, anything can happen, and, like, looks like there's a relationship or how you relate to people that's coming up here. Maybe this is something you see in someone else and not you. Maybe it's that you see someone else as this eternal child. And I do believe that you feel like this is the person that you belong with. We got 1 week, truth, and industria. It's like someone you work with, perhaps, or someone you will be working with, or have worked with in the past, or someone that you know through work. Maybe you have some work to do. Wisdom gained. This person has been cut off from you. Something has been cut off from you. You've got a lot of anxiety about it. Anxiety is where we don't trust ourselves. So this is somewhere where you haven't been quite trusting yourself. Then trust came out. You haven't been trusting the truth of the matter. It's the truth, but you haven't been trusting it. There's a reason that you've been questioning it. And then there's like looking at the details of something. So you have to work through the details of what is it that you don't trust about the truth that you are being presented with. Because something is being cut off from you, and you are gaining wisdom from this situation. The anxiety would indicate that it's you that you don't trust. So it's something that you're saying, and it's something about your day-to-day life, your work life. Your soul wanted to experience this. It's from a soul level that you're being cut off from this. So, and this relationship is from a soul level for sure. It was meant to be cut off from you until now because there's some wisdom to be gained through the situation that got you here, like where you are now. Loss of a child. There's something about, maybe you feel like you'll lose a child or something. You'll lose your own childhood, your own wanting to be a child. You know how we said that you were refusing to grow up? It could be that you feel like you'll lose that, or you'll lose a child. And that's causing anxiety, and maybe that's where you don't trust yourself. Like maybe you don't trust yourself to maintain that part of you, or you don't trust the situation around. Like maybe you don't trust that to show that part of yourself. In partnership, you've been getting a lot of signs, omens. Things are like so coincidental that you can't really deny the signs at this point. And it's definitely about you coming together and forming a relationship with somebody. We got boundary. Yeah, it's been cut off from you. There is a boundary here. What is the boundary that you've made? I think you have an appreciation for this person as either this something about her, or he feels a little victimized and not willing to conform to society. If you're a feminine looking at a masculine, just take whichever role. But I think there's this feeling of belonging together, like you know that this is an important partnership. Soul family. I feel like I know what this is. Virgo. Look, Virgo twice. That's funny because I have twins that are Virgos, and Virgo came out right next to each other twice on the board. I'll have to look at this after, because it's talking about losing children and kind of being, okay. I'll look at it after. Okay, so the sun is being shown onto this situation at this point. It's the time for it to be done. Like a minute. And honor. And it's like not about judging where you're at, it's about honoring where you're at. Like, this is your journey. This is the journey that you've been on. There are limitless possibilities. I think you're gaining the wisdom around allowing that, because you have been cut off from it. There's something about communication, because I just had a coughing fit. 1 week's time, the truth. Knight of Wands. It's like ideas are kind of popping up around you, and you can't really avoid them now. It's like signs are being shown to you. You kind of must, and you're not focused on what's right in front of you either. The signs are kind of like all around you now, so it's even distracting you from what's in front of you, and making you like contemplate things and applying the wisdom that you've already gained to the situation. You're like, okay, well, I already know this. It really is leading to a celebration of some sort with another person. All those ideas that you're getting, you're keeping them safe. They're not exposed to anybody else, I don't think. And I think even you'll go separate from them in order to have this celebration. 7 of Wands. You have options. You're not even looking at your options. You're going inward. What do you have the will to do? You might still be protecting your heart. 7 of Pentacles in reverse. You have not planted a seed yet. Nothing's growing because you've been in the innocence of all things are possible. You've just been allowing for all possibilities. You haven't invested in something because you've been cut off from it. But there is some work to do. It is something that's planned. There is some sort of, it's twins. It's like a twin flame journey. So something's been mirrored to you. You are exchanging codes with somebody specific. And it is for a purpose. You're getting a lot of signs about it. 6 of Swords in reverse. Yeah, you have not taken action on any of these promptings yet. And you are still not opening your heart. Ace of Cups in reverse. Yeah. So at this point, you've just been bombarded with kind of this swirling stuff about a situation where you feel anxious about it. You're not really sure what to trust. And that's because you haven't opened your heart to let your heart lead you. Yeah. I know there's a situation like that for me. It's gonna change, and you are gonna be inspired to an idea, and it is gonna change. You are gonna take the steps necessary to go in the direction of where your open heart and logic and wisdom and like the wholeness of who you are leads you. And you are going to go with the innocence of a child that you have within you, that you know yourself to be. So you are getting good with the parts of you that don't trust that you will be received in that way. You're welcoming in the fearful parts of you that want to protect you and that haven't been willing to make investments, that feel shunned and not fitting in, and like maybe there's like parts of you that have been shunned for not taking certain responsibilities, and then that's distracted you from what you've been inspired to do, because like that's who you are. You honor who you are as someone who is more led by your whimsy. It's something that your soul wants to experience, and I felt compelled to say perhaps in another lifetime you've lost your childhood or your children. And it's somehow affecting and bleeding into this life. You know that when you plant a seed that it's gonna grow, that something will come of it. So I think you've been really hesitant to plant any seeds because of that anxiety and lack of trust in the truth. And also maybe feeling like it would cut off from your limitless possibilities, because you do have options and you like that feeling. You don't want to feel contained. Yeah. You contain those ideas and those signs and all that, but you don't want to be contained in there. You don't really want to have roots, or you hadn't wanted to. But it doesn't, like, proceeding towards whatever this is doesn't mean that you have to not be who you are. It doesn't mean you have to be different than who you are. You just have to be the person who is willing to be who you are. If who you are is someone who doesn't want to have roots and who wants to be in whimsy and who, you know, who's this childlike person, then that's who you go as. You don't go as someone trying to be what they're supposed to be, or what won't get shunned or won't get judged or won't get rejected. You know, maybe your boundary with this situation is, you know, I'm accepted of how I am, or I don't go there. And have you shown yourself to be who you are? Have you really been honest with who you really are and let yourself be seen that way? The child version of you included. Well, I know that this is talking to me in some ways, and probably someone else too, but I don't know if that person would ever look at this reading, but I will definitely look at this reading again, and whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. Coming at you soon, more authentic than ever. This reading was very interesting, and if you resonate with it as well, as much as I do, then you know that, like, there's nothing wrong with how you've been doing it. This is just like what you wanted to learn from this experience of doing it this way. And now you can learn from it, you know, see what you've learned and then make decisions. You have options. There are limitless possibilities. And really, like, get good with being who you are. Get good with that. Like, the people who shunned you for being that, what did they implant in you that you adopted that's making it so that you're not trusting that that's who you can be? And can you deal with the parts of you that feel and have, like, been affected by that, and love those parts of you and accept those parts of you and love those parts of you and tell those parts of you they can be with you too? so that you can all act as a whole cohesive community of cells that knows the bigger picture of things, which is that you're safe to be who you are. So thank you for your time, pick 4, and I'm going to end your reading there. And I'm going to move on to pick number 5, which is the word inspiring and the word shunned. Very interesting. Here's the card, the watercolor. Yeah, look at this, parts hiding behind a tree here. Like there's parts of you that have been shunned. And I think overall you're an inspiring person, and maybe like love being in the woods, on a path, a journey. Always with the sound effects when I drink, so please excuse that. I'm going to get a song from the song deck here to get us started. I love doing these readings today, they're getting me high. Alright, so the card that came out is New Soul by Yale Name. I'm a new oh, I can't sing right now. I'm a new soul, came into this strange world hoping I could learn a thing about something. Okay, so yeah, you're a starseed. You're here to experience Earth, to be experiencing Earth the way that you want to, and seeing it from these new eyes, which gives you different perspectives and a different way to live. And some people are inspired by that, and some people will shun you for that. So whatever, that makes you feel, you got to deal with those feelings. How do you feel? All those feelings have to be acknowledged, validated, like why do you feel that way? Accepted, and then love the parts of you that feel it. So it does say that this has been cleared. You've already known that. Okay. 4 to 5 months. Cancer. And alchemy. Yeah. You've been alchemizing this. You have been doing exactly what I said and working through the illusions of separation. Knowing that the perception that these people were doing those shunning of you or being inspired by you was really just showing you the fragments in you, that it's not even really about them. It's not anything that's maybe even true, and they may not even show up in that way once you've healed the parts of you, as it seems like you're doing by loving the parts of you that are even confused and not clear about that are even like just seeing that outside of you when it's actually in you. It's in you that you've shunned parts of you. It's in you that you're inspired by parts of you. So you're healing all of this by going down into your own subconscious to see and to free those parts of you that have felt stuck in those patterns. You are an earth angel, yes. You have your angels with you, and also you're being lined up with people who are acting as earth angels as you collect all these little parts of yourself. You may be expressing about it, learning about it so that you can talk about it. You may have a birthday coming up here, or yeah. You are experiencing this time on Earth. We got Scorpio, 9 to 10 months, and Thetis, which is, I think Thetis is about justice or balance. Okay, so who you are really on the inside is what will be reflected to you on the outside. So what you've been doing is using the outside perhaps to show you what is on the inside and kind of balancing out that inner energy so that when you do experience the outside, it will be more in line with who you really are. And you will have learned from all the things that you want, that you tried on as that you want. So some of the things that you're healing is betrayal and the ability to enjoy life. sounds like my pile again. Yeah, most recently I've been healing. So I just have been surrounded by people who knew me, you know, for my life and at different times in my life, and where I wasn't as conscious as I am now of what I've been doing here on Earth and about energy and how it works, and, you know, the tangles and the programs and all that. And I just lost the ability to connect with any of them on any level that was meaningful to me. And it was really hurting me. And I tried many things, and then I was like realizing, well, I'm just trying too hard. I shouldn't have to try to have people accept me and interact with me. And like I felt like they were just acting like I wasn't even there. And yeah, it was really hurtful to me. But what I realized when I eliminated them from my sphere, so I could no longer project onto them, what I realized was that is them as souls doing me the favor of showing me the wound that I still have not healed fully, of being abandoned by my parental figures, and not necessarily that I was fully abandoned. I mean, I did go into foster care and all that, so there's that abandonment, but I'm talking about like just right from the start, needing or wanting more attention than I was able to be given, more care than I was able to be given, more presence than I was able to be given. And I wasn't able to be given presence because that just wasn't something that a lot of parents could do at that time on Earth in 1975 when I was born, because our consciousness level on Earth we weren't that aware of that, you know. We were acting in programs and karmas, and you know, this has been an evolution, so my parents had to do what they did so that we could get to where we are, you know, with people who are able to now break out of these programming. So it's not about blaming them, but it is something that harmed or stuck with me in my energy as something that felt like harm. It felt like harm to not be present with. That I would be separated from the memory of who I really am, and only having parents to look up to and need and depend on, and having them be so caught up in their own patterns that they're not able to be present. And that hurt. That felt like pain to me. And that's how I perceived it, as the soul that I am coming into Earth, who felt actually the truth of how I feel is that we're all one, that we are just an energy experiencing itself from different angles, and that we are meant to collaborate, work together, and be a community of humanity. And I couldn't get that to happen in my adult waking life at this age. You know, I couldn't understand like why nobody else cared or wanted to work together or like really address the issues. It was like, even if I understood why they were still looping traumas and stuff like that, and now I know like that's their time to do that. That's what they're doing. They're not ready to step out of that yet. And I was ready to step out of that, and I wanted them to step out too, so we could work together on actually solving it. Because like, yeah, I can have an idea about how to solve it, but like we're a team. So I couldn't get anyone to want to work with me or even listen or understand or like be inspired. Like, I didn't see people being inspired, and I felt myself as shunned. And I'm sure they were inspired, and some of them were inspired to just go in another direction. Maybe they were inspired in ways that I'll never know. Maybe they weren't inspired at all. Maybe they were inspired to think I was crazy or to project onto me so that they start seeing something that they didn't see about themselves, you know, before. And that's likely what I agreed to do as a soul when I came into Earth. You know, nothing's gone wrong here. Like, this is my journey. This is what I meant to learn from. But it was very difficult because it was all pointing to the wound that I had lodged in me from childhood, as a child who wanted more presence than was available to me. And my coping mechanisms that I adopted because of that were vampirism, like needing from outside of me. So that part of me that was experiencing that wound was the part of me that still looked outside of me for connection. And that's why it had to happen the way it did. I wouldn't have seen it in myself had these people not been unable to connect with me. It would have just gone under the radar the whole time because it wouldn't have hurt. It wouldn't have been, brought to my awareness. I wouldn't have gotten still and alone enough to look at what I was feeling. I would have just been like living and coping and bypassing what I was feeling. Which is very interesting because the very first reading that I did in this whole video was about bypassing. So if you want to take a look at that, if you were drawn to more than one pile, definitely take a look. We got Knight of Swords in reverse and Nine of Cups. So I think because your ideas and your sharing, because I do think you're sharing about your process, was not adopted or allowed or accepted. No one got on board with you. I think you stopped sharing your ideas. And maybe even have run away from some of your ideas because the experience of following your ideas has put you in this experience of being shunned. And this is actually setting you up to be able to shine, because now you're going to deal with the parts of you that feel sad about being shunned, and once you love those parts of you and get those parts of you on board, by loving them, by being present with them, by accepting them and offering them all the love that you are, then you will be able to stand brightly and shine in your light without that added element of needing outside approval and validation, and to be an inspiration or inspiring people to collaborate with you. You'll just be who you are, really who you are, without the fear of being shunned and without the pain of being shunned, without filtering your experiences through the pain of being shunned. You won't be doing things that try to please other people, like, oh, maybe this works to get them on board, maybe this works to get them on board. You're healing those parts of you that were willing to do a lot to try to adapt to what other people needed and expected of you. Because really, in fair relating, which we're all evolving towards, and which as a soul, you and like me, understand that we don't need to expect of other people or manipulate or coerce them into behaving in a certain way, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know that they're not supposed to have that experience. We don't know that their angle of looking at things isn't very beneficial for them in some way that we're not aware of. We don't know that there's not a different solution to a problem we've already solved that they need to understand and learn and be inspired from. So betrayal and life and having fun, enjoying life of the party. These are things that are looking at being healed as well. So making sure that you look within to the parts of yourself that you hadn't been willing to look at before. The parts of yourself that decided to cope with betrayal in a certain way. That decided to cope with not being able to connect with others in a certain way. What are the ways that you decided to cope and love and accept those parts of you? Yeah, and we got Cancer here, so it's and Moon in reverse, so it's a mother wound. It's the wound, like in my case, it's the wound of mother just not being able to be as present with me as I had wanted. and not being able to be present with my ideas and my inspirations and my excitements and my happiness. And it's caused like a judgment in me of what I'm willing to allow myself to be and show. Because this is acceptable and this isn't. And it's like, no, I came here to have a new perspective. I'm on my own path, and I don't have to hide these parts of me. I don't have to hide the crazy ideas or the inspirations that might be wrong, that I might be wrong. And it's okay. It's like, I don't have to hide that. I don't have to betray myself anymore. I don't have to not participate in the fun things in life because I'm trying to avoid, being judged or hurt or seen or expected of. Healing the fear of being seen here is interesting because it feels like there's been a feeling, like in my example, of being shunned, but that comes from a fear inside of being seen. It's like I perceived being shunned. I wasn't actually shunned. I just wasn't opened to being seen for who I really am, like the parts of me that were vulnerable enough to say, well, I really feel sad when you guys won't interact with me based on what I'm saying. Like that is real. That is what's gonna make somebody realize that my heart is trying to open and was looking for a place where it's safe. Not presenting the ideas and running away when nobody wants to look at them. That does not tell anybody what's going on with me, except that I'm willing to run. I'm willing to hide, and I don't want to be seen. So, being good with being vulnerable, even though we've been betrayed, is important here. So the part of us that was betrayed doesn't want to be vulnerable, perhaps, and that part needs to be acknowledged. Okay, I acknowledge that I don't want to be vulnerable because when I'm vulnerable, it shows somebody where they can use that against me, and I can be betrayed when I have a weakness shown. But vulnerability is not weakness. It takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable, right? That would have been the most powerful thing to do, is to be vulnerable in the moments where I'm feeling shunned. Because if I open my heart and share what my fear and vulnerability is in the moment where I feel shunned, then this other parties that I feel are shunning me are either going to prove to me that I have been shunned, or disprove it. And either way, that's valuable. But if I just run away, which it seems like the cards are saying has been done here, and it definitely happened in my case, then I don't give them that opportunity. I don't inspire them to want to share their perspective with me. Vulnerability is the space where it allows people to be vulnerable too. Wow, this has been really powerful for me. I have tears just at the back of my eyes as I'm like channeling this message, just so you know. Because I kind of knew all these things, but I wasn't able to really like tell myself this story yet fully. Yeah. So this is just a perspective that me, came into experience, like what it's like to be this foreign perspective in this space that has been not made room for. It's like you got to make room for yourself. So the part of you that took things personal needs more love. The part of you that got betrayed when it was vulnerable needs more love. The part of you that needed more attention or presence from mother needs your love. And so acknowledging the need for more presence, but also, then acknowledging why that wasn't given. and then accepting that this is the case, and then loving the part of yourself. Like, go back into that memory and love that baby part of me, right? Go love that part of you that experienced whatever it was that was the betrayal, whatever it was that took your ability to be vulnerable, whatever it was that was the wound that made it possible for you to start projecting onto others that you were shunned or that you were inspiring. Because maybe you start telling the story that you need to be inspiring so that you have the thing you need, which is actually a way of vampiring and needing outside of ourselves. When we're going to reparent, we're going to give ourselves what we need, we're going to fill our own cups up, and we have a lot of love to give, but we got to make sure we collect all the parts of us that need our love first. Wow, I'm going to get some advice cards for this one. Raven, magic, own your power. Yeah. The power to be vulnerable, the power to be who you really are, the power to express all parts of you, not just the parts of you that are in a protective mode, protecting your wounds. Moose, authority, you know what is best for you. Right? You don't need mother or others to give you what you need, because you know what you need. And if you need people to understand that you feel bad when they ignore your ideas, then you have to say that. When you need people to at least acknowledge or tell you that you're wrong, lion, courage, ask for what you want. Yeah. It's so simple, right? And it's just this fear keeping us from being this real, this authentic, this much who we are. And what I told myself because my experience was on Facebook, because I haven't really left my house much. I have transportation issues and no friends to go out with. Because my protection mechanisms were to not really, let myself go have fun. I was just always working. So I would share a lot of what I was doing on Facebook, and then the people around me that knew what I went through to get there, or at least some parts of, just didn't get it and didn't engage with me at all anymore. And even on my personal family photos, mostly none of them would engage anymore. So it was just really feeling like I was shunned. And then when I decided to not surround myself with them anymore, it was a beautiful gift, because then I realized, oh, this is the abandonment wound. Okay, I got to deal with this. But it was also I made this decision of not filtering my relationships through Facebook anymore, because Facebook is artificial intelligence, and it is being used to manipulate us and coerce us, just like the way our parents' tactics have done in punishment and reward parenting, by the way. And the way I know that is because I have done a bit of research, not too much, but I understand that they do use algorithms and target certain audiences with certain pieces of information, and that the dividing of us as a populace and a humanity is the way that we stay in control, and that we can be weakened to be used for an agenda that most of us are not even aware of. And I was just feeling and realizing that separation that is being perpetuated through Facebook is an artificial intelligence that's doing that. And it's not a real reflection of who I am when I'm just sharing on Facebook. And it's not a real reflection of any of my relationships, and I don't want it to be. I don't want Facebook to be part of my relationships, my connections with actual people. And so I knew that when I kind of let go of everybody as my Facebook interactors, or non-interactors, that I was ready to set out into life and start making real connections with people on a face-to-face, one-on-one, 3D level that does not involve the internet. going to be out there, this summer and spring, and be meeting people, and talking to people, and connecting with people on a face-to-face level, and being vulnerable where I want to be, and using my discernment to do so, and being okay whether they like me or not. It's like, that's okay if people don't feel a connection. I happen to feel a connection with everybody, so it's been really hard. I did have to go through this time where I had to understand that not everyone's going to like me, even if I like them. That was really hard, because I did come in as this soul who's just love. I really do have this love, I really, really do. And only my programs have kept me from acting in that way sometimes. So part of my experience and journey has been understanding that people are allowed to dislike me in peace. And so going out and being face to face with people and allowing them to even dislike me in peace is part of this experience that I'm going to have. I'm going to be okay with it. And chances are, if someone doesn't like me, it's probably because they have their own program, because can't we all just get along, For the most part, I think we can. So, and then it's just my job to hold space for them, to be who I am without being offended by who they are. That's completely possible, and will feel a lot better than feeling like a victim to who they are. Because then that happened because I know myself. Because I faced these parts of me, and because I was able to be vulnerable with myself, I will be able to be vulnerable with others. And now vulnerable with you. And so I'm sharing this in a very personal way, because it was just I couldn't deny that this was a pile that was pertaining to me. And so your reflection in watching this is, how do you feel about that? What do you think about, can you apply some of these experiences to what you have encountered in life, and how did you respond to those situations? And is there anything other to consider given what I have shared, or if you have a different perspective to share or something to add, I would really welcome you to share it in the comments, especially pertaining to this pile. That goes for always, but especially pertaining to this pile, because your sharing and my sharing is just us sharing. And if we don't share ourselves, how will we connect with each other? How will we find each other when we want to know what each other's thinking? How will we understand each other, which is the basis of connection? So, yeah. Wow, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. Remember, this is just information to reflect on, so only take what's helpful. If it's not helpful, don't take it. I have a feeling some people might have just needed to maybe understand a little bit more about me, and I needed the place to be vulnerable, so thank you for that too. Okay, here we go.